This puzzle is made up entirely from scratch by me, and if you have a morality puzzle of your own you'd like to submit, leave it in the comments below and I'll do a video on the problem if I think it's a good puzzle. Imagine there is a tropical island with 1,000 savages, and the savages live there peacefully, but any outsider who comes onto the island, they will brutally club to death. Now this island is well barred off from civilization, and normally nobody would ever go onto the island except under this really rare circumstance an innocent civilian manages to wander onto the island. Now you happen to be the security guard for the island and you possess a flamethrower, giving you one of two options. The first option is to flamethrower all 1,000 savages, killing them in a very brutal death, which would likely be more brutal than the clubbing. And your second option is to let the 1,000 savages beat the innocent to death. Now within the given scenario, there is no reasonable alternatives. The savages cannot be convinced to not kill the one guy, the savages cannot be imprisoned, and you have to kill every single last one of the savages in order to save the one innocent person from being beaten to death. What would you do? I feel like you can learn 1,000 times more about ethics and morality by dealing with morality puzzles. As of such, I'm going to be starting up my morality puzzle problems again, and without further delays, intro! Now the important thing to solving a scenario like this is to separate your emotional and logical brain. If you have messages coming from the logical and emotional brain, they're going to conflict and drive you crazy, which is why most moral dilemmas drive most people crazy. So let's look at the situation logically. If we were to flamethrower all 1,000 savages to death, not only would we create a far worse quality of suffering, but we would also create a much larger quantity of suffering. So if you reason somewhat utilitarian, logically, it makes a lot more sense to just let them club the one guy to death. Now, my emotional brain reasons the exact opposite way. My emotional brain assigns the worth of people by their kindness. My emotional brain would say this one person is innocent, they didn't do anything to deserve dying, and these 1,000 people are a bunch of assholes, so I don't mind flamethrowing all of them, even though it's going to create more suffering. Now the key to solving a moral dilemma in reality is to find a balance point between emotions and logic. In this case, it's very difficult because they're very carefully distilled from each other. Now within a closed system or hypothetical philosophical model, it's always better to do what is logical. This is because all the future repercussions of your action are contained completely within this system. However, when dealing with a real-world problem, I would actually say it's more important to lean our morality slightly in the direction of love, compassion, and empathy as opposed to logic. This is because human beings are primarily selfish emotional creatures, and without love, compassion, and empathy, the chances of someone actually doing what is moral are slim to none. When I let myself be motivated by love and compassion, I can see there's clearly a victim in this scenario, and there's clearly an aggressor, and I definitely want to side with the victim. This is one of the few morality problems I don't actually have an answer. What do you think? Leave it in the comments below. We can discuss the topic, and maybe you can convince me that there is a right and wrong answer in this situation. I believe there is a right and wrong answer. I just haven't thought of the correct argument yet for it. If you like this video, share it, subscribe, and if you have video requests of your own, leave in the comments below. I do most video requests. I haven't been too good with keeping up to date with doing every video request. I will eventually get every video request done, most likely.